All right. Chris is out looking for me. I'm here. We're live. Let's go. You're late. I'm yeah. No, I was in the studio. I was talking to a CPA. One of the difficulties I have in life, you've been having me interview some different assistants, and then I've been interviewing CPAs. I just like everybody. I want to hire them all right then and there. I'm terrible at being patient and making the best decision. It's the same thing with products too. Like, let me just get it. And then the problem is I want to do that with people, but you can't just get rid of people like I get rid of products, and buy all the Wera tools. I'm like, all right, let's get them. And let me I shouldn't say this with people. Let me just touch it and feel it, and then just throw it away. When I'm done with it.
Can't do that with people.
Yeah, I like objects way more than people. So, just in case you're wondering. So, anyway, nice of you to join us.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Hey, we got a super chat here. Right off the bat, $20.
Nice.
Charlie Hall. Had a hail dent on the back fender of my 2001 S2000. I had it fixed and painted recently. How many days should I wait before I wash and then apply PowerLock Colonite 845 combo?
Chances are, if you had it repaired, it probably sat at the place for a little while. It's unreliable, but generally you would ask, your body shop person what the paint system they used and what the general, off-gassing or cure time is. But they're going to just generally make it up. They probably don't really know. But let's say that let's say you dropped the car off and it was there for a couple of weeks. They probably had it done and painted in a week, and then they didn't get the finisher guy on it for so it's probably been painted like a week before you got it, or maybe even longer, depending on how long it sat. But generally speaking, most modern paint systems would be fully cured and off gas before you even took possession of the darn car. Some of them can be minutes. Some of them are 5, 6, 7 days. Some of them are 30 days. But generally, the 30-day stuff is older. It's older stuff that really doesn't exist anymore. So I think you can almost be 100% safe if it's been a month. If you want to just go really conservative. But I think waxing and sealing it isn't as aggressive as coating it. So I'd be inclined to throw a coat of PowerLock and then maybe wait another couple of days, or wait a week or two. But most of the time, by the time you take possession of the car, it's good to go, unless it's some really obscure paint or something really weird. So I'd be inclined to say you're probably good to go now. You can certainly wash it like right away, but locking it in with a coating or something like that, usually want to let the off-gassing finish. But even if you didn't wait till it was fully cured, I don't know if that would even make a difference.
Oh, Bradley Odette here in the chat agrees with you. He said, I'm sure Matt can answer, but typically that's a good question for the body shop that did the paint work. Cure times can differ.
Yeah, but again, you're asking, forgive me, body shop guys, but you're asking the bottom of the chain. You're asking the people that are doing the work. And oftentimes you expect you expect the mechanic to know everything, but they really don't. They know how to do the work. They know how to execute on that. That's their expertise. A lot of that technical stuff, they're just going to give you what somebody told them, and that may or may not be the right person. So in my experience, when you're dealing with with artists or professionals like that do things like that, they're generally not the best people to ask. Ask them, but kind of use your own assessment in that. You ask a like an air conditioner tech about some things. I mean, they're going to give you what they heard, if it's not like definitive, simple, stuff. So, maybe if you talk to the body shop owner, but again, he doesn't know. He's going to regurgitate what what PPG says. So you kind of have to assess the person's level of expertise there, and that's a difficult thing to do, because we're all inclined to trust our experts, trust the people that are doing the work, but not all times is that reliable.
Super chat, another super chat, $10 US from Improved Garage. Any ETA updates on the Mirka, vacuum accessories, or Gerber knife? Yes.
Didn't you say Mirka was the 26th?
28th.
28th?
Monday is when they expect to get them. and then they will ship them to us. I haven't heard anything since
Okay.
about that, so hopefully that's still the case. Vacuum accessories are in stock. They came in either yesterday or the day before. We have 17. I just checked.
Okay.
And the knife, I'm not sure. That's a question we'll get with Bryce on, but they're in production. A lot of people ordered that knife.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you like that knife.
Yep.
Joseph Korger says, I had a dream about Dynaudio Core monitors last night. I wish I could hear them in real life.
I have a lot of dreams about Dynaudio speakers, probably once a week, and I've got a bunch of them, so I can relate.
Yeah, Joseph, come by OGHQ and you can listen to him. Let's see. Hey, Matt, where's everyone going to park when we come see the Helen House? Dan G wants to know.
I haven't figured that out yet. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to come. I mean, the driveway's giant, so I'll talk to the neighbors about, hey, we're going to be a couple hours of, pretty stacked up. We can probably stack down the street as well. So I've got to confirm some of that stuff. I'll maybe work on that next week or so. The other thing I could do is consider having a couple of different time slots, so that way it's not all everybody at once. So I got to figure that out. But that's a good question. Thanks for making me think about it.
CKP wants to know, hey, Matt, what do you recommend for a portable car battery jumper?
Yeah, I just bought one actually recently. That one of those Noco jump boxes. I forget which level I got. I think it was like $300. So they have like 50 of them. And so the little Noco one, the only thing I don't really love about it is it charges with like a regular little like 5-volt, thing. So you charge it up, but they tend to hold charge really well. I bought one of those. I forget what series it was, but Noco to me seems like the best fit and finish. They are kind of highly marketed. I'm sure there's a better version, so I'm kind of getting sucked into the thing that I tell people not to do, which is to buy the highly marketed stuff. But so I could be a total idiot here and being buying some junk that is terrible. But I have one of the Noco professional ones, like, so they make have like a $1,200 like 50 amp charger from them, and it's pretty legit. So I don't think I'm getting duped by the marketing, but I find them to be much nicer than the C-Tech stuff that I have.
Let's see. Toto says, hope everyone is doing well. Can't wait for more Evo content. What are Matt's thoughts on Polish Angel products? Are they good or just flushing dollars down the drain?
Yeah, Evo's timing belt. Mike's finishing that up now. We bought an ACD like flushing pump. Like an external pump from I think it was Evolution something or other in the UK. So I just got that. So we're going to try to get the ACD bled properly. And then I'm going to hold off on suspension and things like that. I'm going to drive around for a month or so. I'm halfway through the detail. We have a introduction to detailing or an introduction to polishing video I just shot. So that was interesting for me to shoot. I haven't really had to think about some of those things. So we're launching a Griot's Garage polisher, like regular, like base package, which is a little less than $1,000 for 2 machines, versus my package of what I do is around $3,000 of what I like to use for polishing as like a base packaging for it. And that's not everything. Like, to do polishing the way that I polish it, so I'm going to make a video probably next Monday. Next week about, okay, so I talked to you about how I would start out, like if I was had 20-year-old Matt Mormon's bank account, how would I start out, and then how am I doing it now if money no object, how am I going to do it? And what was the other part of the question?
Polish Angel products.
Oh yeah, Polish Angel. So there are, I believe, 2 importers of Polish Angel. I don't know if it's still the same, but Esoteric was one, and then there's the Polish Angel USA. And a while back they were kind of at odds a bit. I'm not sure if they still are, or if they work together, or how it works. But I was excited. I thought it looked really interesting. Todd was really excited about Cosmic Spritz, which was a topper, or like a drying aid kind of topper type product. And lots of people liked, especially in the OG group, they liked, was it Master Sealant or something, which is like a sort of a hybrid wax type thing. So this is coming at the end of the the wax days into the modern coating days. I found every single product to be far inferior to something else at a fraction of the price. I really liked it. I bought everything. They actually sat on my shelf. I wasn't using any of them. But if you go back to the old days, go back to, say, 2016, 17 videos, you'll see, ammo products on my shelf. You'll see the Polish Angel products. I wasn't using any of them, but I liked their bottles. I liked how they looked. I spent a bunch of money on them until eventually I realized I haven't touched any of these in 12 months. It's got to go. I can't just keep hanging on to it because every time I used one of them, Master Sealant is what it's called. That's the one product I never used, and I think it's the best one. But a lot of guys were using that instead of Culinite at the time. I don't think it makes sense anymore. But that is sort of their marquee product from what everybody told me. Now, I don't generally agree with what everybody tells me, but some of reliable sources, Jared Toops and Tony up in Jacksonville, and so there's lots of reliable sources that were using that, but I mean, I just don't think that maybe some of the formulas have changed, but I had everything they made and I didn't like any of it, not one thing. I was trying really hard, like, man, there's got to be one. I want to have these in my packages, and nothing. This was before packages, before I was even selling anything. So it was one of those things. It was like I wasn't even influenced what the margins were or anything at all. It just, the Cosmic Spritz was smeary and terrible. And it was crazy expensive. It was $170 a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The shampoo's expensive too.
Yeah.
$70 for half a liter.
You know me. I like expensive.
Yeah. Let's see. Bradley Odette says, I watched the Detached Garage Convo video yesterday. Looking forward to that series.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know what the timeline is, whether we'll build it, but I want to have the plans for it so I can make a decision, and I'll start to price it out a little bit, and I'd love to build it, but it's not definitive yet. If I had to choose between Canadian distribution and a garage, I'll choose the Canadian warehouse. So hopefully I'll be able to do all of it, but we'll see how it goes. Christopher
Deedy says, I ordered a 911 GTS today. Thanks for the inspiration.
Nice. The struggle with the 992 is that it's a 3-liter turbo on those cars. So, if you haven't had a 911, I think you need to get the new one. But what will likely happen is you'll progress back toward the NA stuff. I was just talking to a guy in the UK who sent me an email about the same thing. If you're going to get, and the best trim to get, and if you can always wait, is GTS is always the best version, best value for performance of all of the 911s when they come out with the GTS version. But the twin turbo is great because you have tons of torque. But I think that you'll progress away from that in the future unless you're just a turbo type toward a naturally aspirated version. So let's say a GT3 would be your next step. But I think you have to get a new 911 if you haven't done it yet.
Let's see. This is from Barbecue Jones, our buddy Gary, out in Phoenix. I was talking to someone about Swiss Tracks here in Phoenix, and they mentioned that the heat can cause it to expand and buckle. Mm-hmm. Should I be concerned about this?
Yeah, I mean, that's why they recommend that you leave an 1/8-inch gap on the wall. And so you have to have direct sunlight. I don't find that it's ever gotten hot and swelled, but it expands and contracts quite a bit. And you'll notice that it'll bubble up and create like a 2-foot, it'll like make a big mound if you don't have enough room. So I've had that happen here in Florida. The door's open and I've got it smashed against the wall with no gap, no expansion gap. I mean, nothing happens to it. I mean, it just looks weird where the thing bubbles up. But generally, if you in an area, if you have direct sunlight on it, you're gonna need it all the time. You just cut a relief. Make sure there's enough room on the walls, the side walls, where it has room to expand and contract.
Josh Neville says, hey, Matt, hope you and your family are doing well. Can I get your advice on products and processes to restore interior plastic trim, e.g. removing or reducing scuff marks from door cards, backs of seats, etc.?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in that, but when you have those kind of things, you end up sanding and dyeing, right? So you have to find the dye, so you have to know how to paint. And so you're going to need some some interior dye, painted on dyes. So you're going to sand it down with like regular sandpaper, and then you're going to have to refinish it. I've never done any of that. I always just rebuy the panels because I don't really have that kind of expertise. But that's what you'd have to do. I'm sure you can find some videos online of, what is it called, like Duplicolor or something like that. I forget who makes all that interior stuff.
Sunny Color, across the pond over there, says, how's the laundry specialist working out? Did you have to create a workflow/reference sheet for them?
I think it's doing all right. The struggle I had to do is that Michelle kept letting her off the hook, so I had to tell Bambi, don't let Michelle let you off the hook. Michelle's like, just do mats. I'm like, no, like, you could spend 5 minutes and just tell her what you want. But it's doing great. I just have to get her dialed in on exactly where everything goes. So I always have to kind of reorganize it. But it's fantastic. My clothes are always clean. So she's doing them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And getting it knocked out. Michelle took a job, right? And so, she was, I hope she's not listening, she was doing the laundry. We'll just leave it at that. And so we would have stacks and stacks and stacks in the laundry room. Always looked like a darn bomb went off. And so she went to work, and so I took a fraction of her now income and said, well, let's hire somebody to do it. You're just going to be making a pretty decent salary, and it works well because she's there when the kids are there, so it kind of works well. She's the director of the volleyball program, which has grown substantially, and so she's the lower school, like the club volleyball program there. So she's going to end up building this massive club.
Nice.
But she just they just raised some money and got funding so that they can really build the thing.
Mill Spec Garage says, hey Matt, how are the concrete countertops holding up? I'm planning on doing the same build.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it again. Nothing wrong. We have one small settling crack on one of the corners, but it's like an undersurface level crack, so you can see it, but you can't feel it. But I think that system that we did is the way to go.
Let's see. James Flynn. Hey, OG. 2 questions this week. Number 1, which desk pad do you use, and do you like it?
I always get the Satechi, Satechi, on Amazon, I think. Santeki. Satechi. Yeah, so check out their stuff. It's a little Chinese kind of knockoffy. But I like the full pad that it doesn't cover the whole desk because I don't like that. But it's the mouse pad and keyboard pad in one. So it's big enough to hold both. So check theirs out. I don't know if they still have one though.
Yeah, I don't see it there. Is that one like that one?
Yeah. So you have to kind of search around to try to find one, but it doesn't look like they're making one at the moment.
All right, second question. Have you seen the Porsche Design 911 Soundbar 2.0 Pro? I'm sure speakers through an exhaust sounds great.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
I've seen those for years. It's an interesting thing. It's cool, but it sounds terrible.
$12,000 for. Interesting.
Yeah, the speaker's not in the exhaust. It's like below it.
Let's see. Michael Blankenberger says, I just placed an order for some Griot supplies and a fender brush. Have a great weekend to the whole OG team. Thanks, Michael. George wants to know, do you have any regrets from your college years? Would you have studied anything other than what you did?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I would have probably studied, but I don't know what that would have gotten me. I think about this often. The beauty of I have an electrical engineering degree. For people that don't know, a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Villanova. I didn't enjoy the material, right? I was just doing it because you needed to get it. I needed to get it. I wanted to execute it. I wanted to get it done. But I thought I'd be really interested in the topics, and it wasn't. It's all, engineering is not very practical based. It's very, theoretical based. And so it's a lot of math, and and a lot of imaginary numbers as you get further along. And I don't mind the math part. I didn't mind like linear algebra and calculus and the higher levels of calculus and stuff like that. But I didn't mind physics, but I didn't love it. Wasn't like super into it. And so I was always kind of had that sort of angst around I'm unprepared because I wasn't prepared because I didn't have a passion for it. So, I thought a lot about, over the years, I'm like, well, had I gone to business school, I was probably much more interested in that. I would have excelled in that because I would have, first of all, it's easier concepts, right? You read a book and you answer the question. Versus engineering, you got to solve a mathematical equation, which can be somewhat complex, especially as you're in higher level engineering courses. And you have much more obscure and abstract and complicated subjects when you're getting into like wave transmission, and cell phone transmission theory, and dealing with noise and stuff like that. You're dealing with things that are really complicated and complex. It's quite a bit more difficult to just have a natural understanding of it unless you're just really brilliant. Which I'm clearly not. And so the choice to go, if I had gone and gotten a degree in finance or something, would have been much more interesting to me. But had I done that, would I have learned how to solve problems? And so I think about it. Had I gone in high school and had I actually worked really hard at it, now I would have been missing the extracurricular stuff. But let's say I still had gone to Villanova and I just excelled at Villanova and got up to 4.0, or really studied and really nailed a degree in finance. Could I have somehow parlayed that into a Goldman Sachs internship or something like that? Because I wasn't putting in the time or effort and didn't have the grades to go and pursue internship. I didn't even go there. And so had I if I could do it again, if I'd have found something I was passionate about as much as I am about washing a darn car, I would have gotten all kinds of scholarship money. So I would have, pursued that. I would have gotten great internships, and I would have gotten sort of more of a corporate job. But here's the question: I wouldn't want that, knowing what I know now. So I think I'm okay with my path. So doing law school was not going to be a great route for me because I don't read fast enough. I read too darn slowly. Going to medical school obviously wasn't going to work for me because I'm afraid of a drop of blood. And so I think that the pathway was engineering, which was much more useful to me. Getting a degree in liberal arts or general studies is I think a bunch of nonsense.
Sean Rodriguez says, Happy Friday. Matt, do you have any recommendations for a CR spotless type setup for a mobile detailing setup?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to bolt a tank to the DI tank to your regular tank, one possible option could be you get yourself a pretty stout tank and you just fill up your tank, right? So you have a water tank when you're mobile, and you fill up your tank with deionized water. That's one thing. So you would probably want to get like a service like Culligan or something like that. Or maybe our future system will be able to fill up your 500-gallon tank 6 or 7 times before you need to replace your resin. So that's one way, is to DI or treat the water before you touch it, or before you're putting it through your equipment. The other version is, we're going to have some better versions coming out here. I don't know how mobile it will be. But if you look up RV transformers, some of their systems might apply. CR spotless can work, but if you're doing a lot of high volume, a CR is probably not your best version. A CR is very much designed for the enthusiast, who doesn't have terrible water, who's not doing a high volume. And so I'd be inclined to say, look up like the RV transformer stuff and consider getting one of those big old tanks that can hold half a cubic foot of resin or so.
Kevin Crane says, maybe I missed it, but are we not supposed to talk about Mike F. and Sam the cooking guy being a doppelganger? I can see that a little bit, I guess. He's in Southern California. Mike F is from Northern California.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see, Kevin. Joseph had a great experience using fast correcting cream a couple weeks ago. Excited to order my refill from OG. Nice.
Yeah, it's super legit, simple. I was talking about this in the I actually was really sat down and thought about it when we were putting together the entry level package for polishing. And Jeskar is such a good universal polish, but fast correcting cream is a little bit more aggressive, so I think it has a little bit wider universality. Is that a word? It's a little bit more universal, and it's a little easier to deal with. There's absolutely no dust, and it doesn't load up the pad, so your pad won't mat as quickly with it because it has quite a bit more lubrication in it, quite a bit more probably mineral oil. But it's a really sound polish.
All right, James Flynn, going back to him, I found your pad on Amazon. They do still have it there. $39.99. Satechi Eco Leather Deskmate 23 inches by 12.2 inches.
Yeah, I like those. There's probably better, but I bought a bunch of them over the years, and I always end up getting the Amazon junk version.
CJ wants to know, when you start a side hustle, at what point would you create an LLC?
I think if you made 10 grand would probably be a good inflection point. And it also depends on what your side hustle is and how much liability you think there is. If you're out like, I don't know, if you're like jacking up people's foundations or something, you're doing like concrete restoration or something, you might want to get an LLC right away. If you're doing like, if you're out like grading people's properties or something using heavy machinery, or you're fixing people's roofs or something, something that has some risk, maybe you want to get it like right away. But if you're selling some sort of product or something, I'd say make 10 grand then do it.
Let's see. Kyle Nelson says, "Hey Matt, I'm closing on a new house in a couple of weeks, but won't be moving in for at least a month or two. What's the lead time for Obsessed Garage design? Should I sign up early or wait till I move in?"
Yeah, I think you'd want to do it now. I know the guys have at least a week lead time, and then of course you're going to have the products. If you're wanting to get going in reasonable order, you'd want to start like call them today. Email them right now.
Let's see here. Steven says, "Hey Matt, can you explain the difference between the 1322 and 1622 if they both now have total stop? I would imagine the flow and PSI can be the same with the same orifices." No,
not even close. So the 1622 TS is a direct result of the existence of the 1322 and my exclusivity of the 1322. So a little backstory. I was selling the 1122s. We had quite a bit of success. I had a little garage condo next to my Raymond James office, and I had this desire to put a 1622, the original 1622 without total stop, on a shelf, but that pressure washer is terrible. The 1622 TS is terrible too. It's a terrible option unless you're mobile and you don't have a really stout
generator.
Yeah. So I flew to New York to meet Ludwig Krenzla and Uwe, who's his right-hand man. They flew to New York. It was Jeff at the time who was turning over to Angela, who now runs Angela Hamilton, who runs Dirt Killer and Krenzla USA. And so I got to meet Angela for the first time, and we had this massive amount of success with the 1622 or with the 1122, the portable version. And so they were willing to listen to me. I said, if you guys can make this will be a game changer. We need to take the 1622, but I need it to be total stop, and I need it to be flow heavy, not pressure heavy. Now, the 1622 is rated at 1600 psi, but it doesn't actually produce that. It produces around 1000 psi. So it produces around 1000 psi at around 1.5 gallons a minute. But it doesn't touch anything higher than I think like 13 amps. So you can very cleanly, very easily run a 1622, either or a 1622 TS. You can run that on a regular, even a 15 amp circuit with some other things on it. You could very, very easily run that pressure washer. Most of the time you're operating, it's going to operate at like 10 amps or something pretty lean. It's quieter. as well, because the windings in the electric the electric motor are quite a bit different in the 1322 than the 1622. So after they changed the electric motor, so the motor's a little different. I believe the capacitor is quite a bit bigger as well in the 1322. We were still able to get it to operate on a 15 amp circuit, albeit not with a 1.25 millimeter orifice on a foam cannon. But the 1622 had existed, and it just ran. It didn't have total stop. And then I had them make the 1322, which is my design and my idea. And so the 1322 does, at 1,000 psi, does right at like 1.9, or just shy of 2 gallons a minute, depending on which exact machine you get and what gauge and stuff you're using. But the 1622 then came about because I have exclusivity on the 1322. And everybody wanted some version. So all the companies selling the 1622 don't know anything about pressure washing. And so they're just direct copying. And so that's why the 1622 exists, to appease all the other retailers. So everybody's gotten a 1622 with the exception of those that are, detailing, that have a mobile detailing area, or those that just have no prayer. You've got old copper wiring and you have no prayer of adding a 20 amp circuit. That's why I have the 1622, is for the detailers that are going around. Plus, it just helps get people to the site, and then hopefully you can figure it out that it's not the right one for you if you have a decent amount of power. I would rather have a 1322 with a 1.5 nozzle and a 4.5 nozzle, 1.5 orifice in the foam cannon, and a 4.5 size nozzle. You could run it on a decent 15 amp circuit, and it'll still outperform. The 1622 TS is going to get like 1.5 gallons a minute. It's just too lean, for that much money, and it's more money than the 1322. So because they're still selling with all the accessories and all that nonsense. So the 1622 TS still needs to exist, but it's a very niche, very specialty unit. It is uber quiet, so that is really nice. That's the main reason why I carry it. But you want a 1322 at all costs. You want to move heaven and earth to get that, because that's the best machine. And I find it so fascinating. We just did a video on the dual AR630s. The AR630 is a great pressure washer. It's nice. But any moron that's telling you that it's better than the Krenzle, you're nuts. It's not. It's an $800 machine. There's some Italian jank to it. The plastic's cheaper. The inlets and outlets are cheaper. The internal components are cheaper. It's nice. It's loud. It's got a different tone. It's louder. It's got a different tone to it. It is a triplex style pump, which does have some advantages, but it's a Camaro versus a Porsche. The capacitor's better. The brass head is much nicer. Even though Krenzle is a inferior theoretical type of technology in that it's a radial axial style pump, it's worth if the $400 isn't making or breaking you, then you buy the Krenzle. And actually, people always tell us stupid stories. They don't know any of this, but they're just the only reason they're selling the Krenzle is because it's more money or a better margin. It's nonsense. The AR has better margin for us than the Krenzle does. By the way, you're welcome. The AR 630 TS or TSS. Everybody was selling the hot version, but there's no need for the hot version because the non-hot version goes up to like 140 degrees. The seals and check valves are good up to 140 degrees. That's really the only difference. So save you like $150. Plus, they didn't used to sell it as a standalone only machine. I talked them into that. They had it as a SKU, but they were really very readily available. And I sell a ton of them. But if you're asking me, what the best pressure washer to buy, it's going to be the K1322 TS, or the identical machine is the K1122 TST, which is the portable version. You're having to pay with the 1122. You're having to pay for the cart and all the accessories. I think if you're doing the 1122, you want the original stock wand and gun because you're going to probably be using that to kind of tool around and clean decks and stuff like that. I still contend that I would rather have a gas pressure washer. We have that Dirt Killer Krenzle pressure washer in hell, and that thing is freaking nuts, man. It's awesome. It's gas. I think it's about $2,700. Does I think 4 gallons a minute at like 4,000 psi or something, 3,000 psi. It's gnarly. But, it's like 98 or 100 decibels. It's freaking crazy loud.
All right, speaking of hot water here, from Jordan Horton, Matt. I've owned 3 of the original Mosmatic guns.
Mm-hmm.
All have been replaced because they leak through the tip when the water is on. Is there a way to rebuild them? Also, I've used one with a Hotsy, wondering if the 200-degree water is eating the internals. Is the OG spec gun full stainless?
Yeah, I think that the you're dropping it, but that heat is probably wearing out the seals and stuff. I think there probably is a way to rebuild. I haven't ever taken it apart and like that part of it apart. Also, make sure that you're not buying the weeping version, because there is a weep version for heavy duty, high output pressure washers, and that they'll weep a little bit, so that way it doesn't build up too much pressure and explode the whole line. But generally speaking, the only thing that would do that would be the heat that you're dealing with, or you're dropping the thing all the time. But it sounds to me like it's probably that temperature. I'd be inclined to possibly you're gonna need maybe reach out to Mosmatic Direct or something. I don't have a ton of experience with that kind of pressure washing, so I think you're probably going to want to consider maybe there's a hot water specific version, or maybe a weeping version.
Let's see. Chris Gwynn wants to know, hey Matt, what kind of security camera setup do you have at home or in Helen? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I just have the goofy Google stuff, which I don't like. Yeah, I'm not much of an expert there. I don't really find it super necessary, because then I find the Google Nest cams are annoying, but they seem to work, I guess.
Let's see. Dan Pfeiffer, good afternoon from my garage. Hey, thanks for joining us, Dan. Philippe says, OG Canada, I am so excited. My credit card is ready.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with Noreen, who I feel really good about, maybe becoming my representative there from a legal tax perspective. So I'm working on caught the vision for what we need to do. We just met our sort of leadership team, those that needed to meet. We just met about that. There's a lot of things that we need to kind of work out. Like, for example, if you buy something on the website, I need to be able to keep the Canadian currency in Canada, and so have it not, convert over. So there's a lot of stuff that I have to figure out.
Let's see. TDaz250 wants to know, are you still pursuing a Gen 3 Raptor?
No. I mean, if I can get one, maybe I would, but no.
Detailing Garage says, hey Matt, I'm looking for a compressor. I don't have a big budget, around $400 to $500. What would you recommend?
I don't know, man. I haven't figured that out yet. We really do need something reasonable. I mean, Jenny compressors is what I'm buying in the reasonable range, but you're going to be double that. You're going to be around $1,000 for, like, say, a 2-horse Jenny or something like that. All the California Air Tools, those things are not good. I think they were good at one point. There's like Roll Air and all these, sort of Amazon version of compressors. But, if I'm you, I'm going to try to get myself a Jenny or a Champion and try to get as much compressor as I can for the money. What you want to try to get is, since you're going to be in the piston compressor range, you're going to be, trying to get a single stage, but as low of RPM as possible. The low RPM is what helps keep the noise under control. When you go to buy like a Craftsman or a Husky or something like that, they're going to be humming at like 3,500 RPMs. They're just really cheap pumps. And so you really want to get something that's, industrial grade. So, like, check out the Jenny stuff, like the J series or, K series Jenny stuff is really cool, but you're going to have to spend more.
Neil White wants to know, hey Matt, are you going to sell the Griot's foam cannons? If so, does that mean you'll not be selling MTMs, or will you sell both?
Yes, we'll be replacing the MTM with the Griot's.
Jacob says, hey Matt, I made a rookie mistake. Got polishing compound on black plastic trim. Mm-hmm. Any tips or tricks to remove the compound?
I always use, Meguiar's M39. Some people have talked about you put peanut butter or use a pencil eraser. Meguiar's M39 and like a color lock brush has been how I've been able to get it out. The problem is you can't buy that anymore, so I don't know what to tell you. I've got a bunch of bottles stashed.
Let's see. Our buddy Jeff Johnson out in Oregon says, any update on hiring an executive assistant? Would love to hear what brought you to seeking one out, and what do you expect to get from it?
Well, I mean, I should have hired an executive assistant at like employee number 3 is what I should have done, but I didn't do that. Partly because I'm pretty highly organized, and I always felt like we needed, some other, task first. It's a necessity now. We have a leadership team. As we have more employees, I become much more diluted, and so in order to maintain any semblance of order and structure, and making sure that people are taken care of, as well as some of the HR issues and stuff like that can arise, and as the company comes larger, it's really important for me to have a direct assistant. I'm much less in need of the get my coffee and get my dry cleaning kind of stuff done, and more in need of the structure that having a direct assistant would provide, the sort of the organization for both vendors and outside people trying to get a hold of me, as well as employees as well.
This is from Lawrence. Can we please get the minimalistic Hex t-shirt in more colors, like the OG logo shirts? For example, Heather Blue.
Yeah, I mean, the plan would be to have it available in all colors, so we're working on that.
Let's see. Trera CP, would you be fine with your son picking up a trade instead of going to college?
No, not an option.
Sam Taylor says, what's up, Obsessed Crew? First time catching the live, and I'm really digging into the Obsessed culture and mindset lately. Appreciate all the hard work. Thanks, Sam. That's nice. Super Chat, $100 US from MW_F80. Have a great weekend, Matt and Chris. Nice.
Thanks.
We'll split that. Thanks, MW. Obsessed Mobile Detailing says, have you seen the new Ego pressure washer?
So they finally
I looked it up for you. Coming soon.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we got to get that to try. What says 1.2 GPM, though?
3,200 PSI.
I'm hoping that they got it somewhat legit. That could be really cool for all the apartment people and stuff. So everything else they make is really awesome. So I'm hoping that it's going to be at least somewhat acceptable. Man, imagine if you could do a car, if you could get like, a gallon and a half a minute out of it or something like that, you could do it with the Ego batteries, that would be a game change. So I wonder also, you see, it's got a hose inlet, so I don't think it has a tank. That's the only thing. So that'd be and then the other question is it going to be self-priming? So these are the things we're going to have to figure out to make it. If they should have freaking called me, is what they should have done. But that is one thing I've been pretty I don't know about excited for, but something I think could be really, really legit if they get it right. The problem, you guys, is it's probably going to be like $1,000.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be pretty expensive.
Blah blah blah. Combines the power of any two Ego Power Plus batteries.
So that's good if it's using two.
Yeah,
so that's
two.
good. In that it stinks you got to buy 2 batteries, but that means it's going to be hopefully have some power, up to 60 minutes of runtime, which is freaking awesome. You only need like, what did I say, like 12 minutes of runtime total for a pressure washer. So, but it stinks that they don't have the option for like onboard water.
And you get 2 batteries with it, so it looks like it's as a kit.
Like having battery powered, if you have access to electric, is probably not going to make any sense. But if you're an apartment or you're traveling or you have a trailer or RV or something, where you don't have, I guess an RV would have power. But yeah, they've been talking about that for a long time. I hadn't seen that they put it up on the site finally. That's going to be pretty cool, I hope.
I had to do a little search for it. It wasn't readily like on the front page or anything. So, let's see. This is from Boss. Looking to buy an E92. What would you look for when purchasing?
The first thing you can look at to see the condition of the car is look at the front seat. It sounds weird, but you can generally tell there's sort of a microcosm of the condition of the car. Look at the seat. If the sheet's all cracked and shiny, which most of them will be, then you'll know it's had a lot of owners, and a lot of owners that don't know squat about anything. All they'll be concerned about are rod bearings and throttle actuators, which in a really nice car don't matter one freaking iota. And so you're going to be, if you look at the front seat, that can kind of tell you. Obviously, if you can find a single hump car, so no navigation, the navigation dates the car. If you can find a manual with manual seats, that's also cool. Don't avoid, speed cloth is also really awesome if you can find that. I'd always rather have black. The red interior doesn't hold up quite as well, but I'm looking for a car that if it has a sunroof, forget it. You have to get a carbon roof. That's the best part of the whole freaking car. But generally speaking, those cars are pretty darn bulletproof, and you're looking for one that hasn't been owned by a dirtball. By a freaking dirtball scumbag that has dirty clothes and dirty everything, because then they're not going to take care of it. They're not going to warm it up properly. So you're looking for one, and to me, the front seat will tell you if you very likely, it's not 100% guaranteed, but that'll tell you that somebody takes care of the front seat. They're probably going to take care of everything else, like let the car warm up and all that stuff.
Super chat from Improved Garage, $5 US. How is the new Armor wheel coating compared to Deluxe and Gliss?
It's actually very similar to Deluxe, so it's a high solids, high temp version of a coating. It goes on very, very similarly, but what you'll find, I think, is that you'll likely only need a single layer, whereas with Deluxe, I find that you really need Gliss on top of it. So you get better water behavior. So you get more beading and more sheeting of water with the Armor than you do with the Deluxe.
Micah Lemon says, "Hey guys, got my hands on a set of the, I think he means Prevost, but it might be Provost, garden hose quick connects at a local hose shop. Seem pretty legit. Any chance they're going to offer them in stainless down the road?"
I don't think so. That's my one problem, is they're zinc-plated chrome. And the nice thing about it is that they do have a single way, where you pop it out and it'll seal without you turning off, the faucet. I kind of like them. I have one at my house on the bucket filler, but they are a little too bulky, I think, in most applications. So I think we have them in the store, but we don't sell a lot of them because the MTM ones are cheap. They're not as nice. They're not as pretty, but they're just so darn functional, and they're throwaways. When they get beat up, you just get a new one for a couple bucks.
Benji wants to know, what's your favorite product from Griot's Garage?
I think it's the leather interior scent, but interior cleaner is the best product for sure.
Loudspeaker wants to know, which spring did you use on the clutch of the E92? What did this do to the clutch feel exactly?
No spring. You just take the spring off. The spring is there to assist, right? And so the spring helps pull the clutch pedal back up. It doesn't do anything else. So it makes this clutch feel lighter. So you just take the spring off, just pull it off, and then the clutch feels natural, a little heavier. So then you're just dealing with the hydraulic action of the the clutch fluid or whatever. So you're not having a spring assist. So you just reach down there, you rip the thing off, and throw it in the trash. You don't have to do anything else.
James wants to know, what's another alternative for a wall covering? Not really wanting to do drywall in my shop. Want something a little different. Scott Mitchell suggests truss core panels.
Yeah, remember I had those samples over there. Mm-hmm. The problem with the truss core stuff that I don't love is that they have no system for like each panel is just stacked on another panel, so they're all scratched up when you get them, and they don't really have a system to keep them from being sort of scratched up looking. So you'll get them on a pallet, and they're just all kind of rubbing together. And so you have to be willing to accept that because they have a little bit of a sheen to it. And so that shininess has like little scratches all over it. And I asked them about that. It's part of the reason why I decided not to do anything with it. I'm like, I wouldn't want that. See, then I'd always know my freaking walls look all scratched up, and you can't repair it. You can't polish, or something like that. So, but the truss core is a solid option. You could also do, FRP, fiberglass reinforced plastic, but that kind of looks jank. I think the coolest thing to do would be to cement board it and do a Kerdi vapor barrier and tile it. But now you're talking about $25,000 walls. So, but yeah, tile would be what I would do.
John Brooker wants to know, hey Matt, What's your favorite tool for denibbing tires? I just got a new set of Michelins.
I still think the best tool is just take a raw razor blade and just pull it and snip it. I was using those Snap-on little springy little thingies, little cutters, which does alleviate your pinching. You know, you gotta get worn out pinching if you're doing like truck tires. But if I'm doing a set of Michelins, I'm just grabbing a raw razor blade and my fingers, I'm pulling on it and getting a nice flush cut that way.
Speaking of Snap-on, was the truck here today? I didn't see it.
No. Yeah, he didn't have anything for me.
Detailing Garage wants to know, are you going to sell those Active 2.0s that you used in the AR video?
Yeah, all the open box stuff. Send Chris an email, somebody.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Chris at Obsessed Garage.
Yeah, send Chris an email. We'll give you a good discount on. So we have 2 ARs, we have 2 Actives that we use them for 5 seconds. You know, so they're brand new, but they're opens and they've had raw water run through them. So we have to sell them open box.
Let's see here. This is from Joshua Bellinger. Hey, Matt, just wanted to encourage you a bit and say that I can definitely notice progress in your physique.
Oh, thanks.
Keep working hard. It is paying off. How do you feel?
I'm wearing red here, Chris.
Yeah.
I feel great. I feel a little beat up just from the soreness of things, but the beauty of going carnivore or largely carnivore is that my joints don't hurt. My lower back hurts a little bit here this week because I just deadlifting a lot and squatting a lot and stuff like that. I'm a bit frustrated in that I started taking creatine. Creatine monohydrate works wonders for me, but it also makes me gain like 10-12 pounds. So I'm sitting at 239 for the last month and a quarter or so, and I'm freaking killing myself. And so I feel like physiologically, like I'm changing, like I feel like I'm losing some fat. The problem with me is that my neck and arms grow, and I don't want that. Just stay the same and lose the frickin' the rest of the weight. And so I'm riding a lot. So I'm not riding tomorrow again. So we've been riding at least once a week. I did 5 days of CrossFit this week, so I'll take Sunday off. I did 7 days a week of doing some sort of function, so I'll probably take Sunday off. I also notice, like in the gym, like I'm not as laid out. I can go harder and I recover quicker, where I'm not like the entire ride home like on death's doorstep. You know that feeling? Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I can recover quicker, and but in CrossFit that just means you go harder and it gets worse. It hurts more. So I feel pretty good about it. I feel good. I haven't been craving junk food. I've been sleeping great. You sleep between 8 to 10 hours a night, which is key. I've been doing have you ever done a cold shower?
Yes.
It literally takes your breath, like it sucks it out of you. It's darn scary. And what is that, like 58 degrees, 60 degrees, something like that? Especially in the summer, maybe even a little warmer than that. But man, I'm getting geared up for my cold plunge. I should have it in maybe a month or a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Generally speaking, average temperature of cold tap water is 55 to 62.
So it's probably 60-ish, because it's summertime and it's running, through the ground coming from my well. But yeah, man, that is shocking. But I think that's the point, is to stimulate that kind of adrenaline. And what I'm looking to do is get that darn adrenaline out of my system as much as possible. But I feel like I'm doing well. At 43 years old, I think it's going to take. I'm working to not get discouraged. I think it's going to take a while. It's going to take a year's worth of this kind of fight to get to like a reasonable like 215 or 220 or something like that. And I think I'm okay with that for the first time.
So you'll be participating in the OG weight challenge?
No, I'm not going to do that, because I don't think I would lose at the rate. I don't want to do the things. I don't want to lose the gain that I've gained, like physically and athletically. I don't want to lose those improvements just to drop weight. That's important. I'm looking to do this is looking to be sustainable, and so I love the idea of a primarily carnivore and then fruit based diet. I like meat and I like fruit, and I think that I could supplement fruit if I can stay away from some of the garbage. I mean, that's a pretty easy way to live. It's an easy way to go out to eat. It's an easy way to function, and that's sustainable. So we'll see.
Guy Coe wants to know when he's selling the E92.
Yeah, $500,000 you can have it.
CK Matt, what was the last hundo that you palmed?
Let's see. That's a good question.
Because you haven't had to go to the tire shop recently. You maybe tried at the DMV.
Who did I do it? There's one that's right on the tip of my tongue here. Oh, the girl that served Kate's birthday party. I didn't pre-hundo, or I should have. I post-hundoed, which isn't as effective. That's Maddie's advice. She's like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Is this for the party?" I'm like, "No, it's for you." So I palmed her a hundo because she was like, taking care. It was at Sky Zone, the bounce jump house.
She was
thing.
like the little chaperone lady.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I palmed her a hundo at the end, and
Nice.
she was pretty appreciative. As a teenage girl, and I figured, his party's probably cost me $500. What's another hundo? So I palmed her that. But the smart thing to do in that situation, if you want to really, get some good service, is you palm the hundo ahead of time. I just didn't think about it. So that's the smart move. That's the move you want to do.
Our buddy James Collop says, on the NOCO, you can, but the power supply to charge it faster than the regular USB style cord. I'm sorry, I forgot what that was referring to. Gary H. wants to know, is the vented oil cap worth getting for 1322 TS that has a minor oil leak?
Yeah, I mean, that'll solve it completely. So, yeah, it's definitely worth getting. I think they all come with it now, but early on they didn't. So, yeah, it's like $10 or $15 for one of them. I think it'll get rid of your oil leak altogether. Because what's happening is it's pressurizing the head of the pump and it's pushing oil out of it into the little gaps. Not the world's worst thing. It's not really hurting anything. You just wipe up that little dab of oil. But if you vent the cap, it'll take the pressure off.
Ryan During says, hey, Matt, what's the deal with the randomly slow order processing times for items you were showing as in stock at OG? Almost 10 days to ship an MTM foam cannon? So I looked up his order here. He got the one with Prima fittings. So, Ryan, I think the deal was
hold up,
we were waiting on Prima fittings because we had to restock them because the old ones were getting rusted. So we may have done a crappy job communicating that to you, but that's what the holdup was. So apologies for that.
But yeah, normally if you ordered a foam cannon, a normal foam cannon right now, it would probably ship out in the next 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They're on it.
Let's see. Hey, this is from Kyle Smith. Hey, Matt. After first design meeting with Kyle yesterday, with my current project size limitations, I have decided to go with a 4-post. Given Nussbaum quality, would you go with them or Bend Pack 4-post? Pros and cons.
I haven't actually seen a Nussbaum 4-post. I don't know much about them, but I would guarantee you the difference is going to be pretty remarkable. I think that if you can swing it, I would get one. But I mean, the Bend Pack works. But the Nussbaum is going to be amazing.
Southern Motoring Solutions says, daily carry computer-friendly backpack/bag suggestions for someone who brings a MacBook to and from the office daily.
Well, first, don't get some goofy dork satchel, right?
No man purse?
Especially if you don't have biceps, right? So if you have little skinny arms, then you don't want to have like a goof little purse, right? So if you have Chris arms, you want to have a regular backpack like
I do.
Yeah. So now if you have big jacked arms, you can do whatever you want, So if you have Mormon arms, you can probably pull it off, but even then I still would highly recommend against it. I also not a big fan of the little, I think Kyle has the little it's like just a little single computer baggy thingy.
Yeah, that you hold by the handle.
Yeah, I don't like. I think the move is go with the backpack. So you can throw it over one shoulder if you want to. I like the Peak Design everyday backpack. Really expensive, but really really nice. The backpack we have is pretty decent. That one that we still have some of those. But yeah, I say don't go with the girly thing unless you're going to, like Toomey has one that I used for a number of years. It's more of kind of like a briefcase, but with a shoulder sling. So it's not like a satchel type. It's an actual like a businessman sort of alternative to a briefcase. That can be kind of cool, but that I think is more like early 2000s as well. I think you want a frickin' backpack. Peak Designs.
Jose wants to know any news on retesting the dual active 2.0s with the inline check valves.
It's not going to work. It's not going to help. What needs to happen is it has to see spike pressure of 14 or 1500 psi. And so if you have a one-way check valve, it's still not going to see that pressure. And so it's just not an option unless we get some sort of aftermarket, on-off valve or something. It's not gonna work out.
Delta Gamma 82 says, I'm surprised to hear that OG is dropping MTM cannon for the Griot's cannon. Any major differences?
Yeah, I mean, I have a video coming out with that about that, but the you'll have to watch the video. I mean, pretty much everything is different. What's this dork talking about? Things that are endorsed.
Yeah, so
let me take this guy out.
All right, well, let me get the super chat first. $4.99 US. Improved Garage. What was your experience with Griot's metering tips? I found purple tip 1.25 80/20 GSF to DI was perfect for my 1322.
So I haven't screwed around with that yet. So I haven't done the metering stuff. I've always been a pre-diluter, but it probably would be pretty nice to just put the regular product in. So we'll see how that functions.
Then TJB says the love for Griot's is coming back around. The irony of members being shot down for suggesting items that are later endorsed by OG. List of cabinets and Griot's products. Laughy face emoji.
Nonsense. That's 100% nonsense. I've been a Lista fan probably before he was out of diapers. So that's... I love it when they say that.
We did talk about that last week.
Yeah.
Long length about your love for Lista going way back.
Yeah, and Griot's since like 2002, something like that. And then the Lista since maybe a little bit after that, maybe around the same time.
Yeah, when I first met you had those red
Genevas,
holder thingies for all your Griot stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and I just, I probably at that same time when you first met me, I also had a CAD file of Lista cabinet array that was $20-something thousand that I was dreaming of that I wasn't getting, unless I sold a car. So don't give me that frickin' nonsense telling me that you taught me about it. Get out of here.
Let's see. Our buddy Spencer up in the Dakota says, "Hey Matt, I just bought my first house. Has footing poured for a 24 by 24 garage, but no drain. Mm-hmm. We live in northern climate, so I can't do Swiss tracks if I leave it and squeegee it out. Can I add a drain with no slope?"
I think so. You could always, I mean, when you cut the floor, like Rad Garage did it in his, I think you can kind of slot the floor, or you can cut out and a bigger area and create a little slope to it when you add a drain. But again, I'm not an expert in that. I think you'd end up having to cut a bit more so you can get some drop so that you can get the water to where it needs to go.
Let's see. Maverick says, "Hey Matt, Cree CR series, new construction. Would you do 6-inch throughout the house or some 4 inches, and which rooms would get dimmers? Room or rooms?"
The modern thing to do is to do 4-inch. I just think 6-inch cans look better. I mean, personally, the really modern thing to do is the smaller the fixture, the better. I just don't like that look as much. I'm a big fan of the 6-inch. So if I had a choice, I'm going to design 6-inch fixtures for my house.
Two Steps Aesthetics says, "Any thoughts on the Diamond Protect coatings and the DIY detail coatings?"
Yeah, I mean, the Rag Company guys seem pretty wild about it. I think the Diamond Protect isn't slick, so I'm not interested in that. And then I like Ivan and Nick, but I think that you're going to be better served with the guys that are experts at this, Gian and Gian is kind of later in the game, but Gian and CarPro and G-Technic. But coatings are kind of those things that are kind of hard to just try them, but I just don't have a problem with the one I have, and I can't see it getting much better. So I don't know. But who knows? Maybe I'm missing out on something in life.
Andrew Garcia says, I love Obsessed Garage. Let's go, Matt and Chris.
No, thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. That's nice. KP Caping says, the M-colored kidney grills are also a huge red flag for dirtball BMW
yeah,
owner.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, if they got any, the three, it's what he's talking about is the three little, three little things painted. Yeah.
Let's see. Andrew Garcia also wants to know here. Let's see. If your foam cannon isn't dispensing enough soap to water ratio, what might be the problem with my foam cannon? Asking for a friend.
It's probably the filter. That's most likely the case. So I would want to take the plug off, make sure that your orifice is clean and not, there's not rust or buildup in there. And then you would take, the, push the little pin out, take the plastic head off, and check the filter. And then maybe replace it, and that will solve your problem.
Matt Radford says he's listening to the show while making the drive up from Mount Mitchell from Asheville. Today's a good day.
Nice.
Nick, our own Nick, says tell Matt about the new weight loss contest. Yep, Nick, he saw it. Made sure he saw it. Sport Cat, I see there's a sale on emits. Is it worth double the price of PSBs?
Yeah, I think, and it's a freaking sweet deal. We're not like discontinuing. I think Dynaudio wants to see some more emits out in people's hands, and so 25% off is insane. I hope that they give us a discount when we buy them.
Yeah,
but they, 100%. If you can swing emit 20s, they're freaking fantastic. The cabinets are they've not nearly as fancy as the Evokes, but you'll love the sound of them. They're incredible. They're they're in a different class than the PSBs. I like the PSBs a lot, but these are fantastic, and they're really fantastic at 25% off.
86 says the Snap-on guy didn't show up today because he's getting a spray tan in the Cayman Islands thanks to Matt's credit card.
What I told them? I said, because we're going to be doing the giveaway, I said, I'm probably going to need another one in a couple of months.
Another toolbox?
The whole outfit, the whole thing,
Lord.
yeah.
Bradley Odette wants to know, do you have any thoughts on the new Mustang GTD?
I thought about, that would be kind of cool to get that as a giveaway car. That was my first thought. I mean, it's a bit much. But I think it's kind of neat. I don't know, my first thought. There's a lot going on there, but...
Yeah.
Now, what are they going to be? Can you, buy them? How many are they going to make?
Let's see. Approximately 300,000.
Yeah.
What does GTD stand for?
There you go. How many? Oh, Jesus.
Extremely short supply.
Mm-hmm.
More than 50 cars is all they would say.
Okay, see, I'm not getting one.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Matt, have you finalized your decision, Keith wants to know, on the exhaust for the Evo 8? Tomei?
No, my Fujitsubo is on the way, and then we'll see. I don't think the Tomei is going to be the long-term version of it, but I'm hopefully going to get the thing on the road here early next week so I can drive it around, regularly and see. And so I think, I'd like to get the Evo on the road here, and I want to sell the E36. $100,000. So I'm going to list it for. I'm going to sell it for $100,000. I know I'm pretty sure I can sell it for $100,000. So if anybody wants it at 100 G's, call me and we'll ship the car to you. That's a $60,000 loss for me.
Keith also says about those exhausts. The others were, as you said, baby exhaust. All right, Tom has an idea. Random product idea. Pressure washer spray nozzle that rests on the quick disconnect flange would allow for one-handed removal of the nozzle. Thoughts?
I don't know what he's talking about, so
that's good because I didn't either, but I figured you might.
I don't like to have any kind of stow for the darn tip. I think it's goofy. Like we were trying to put it on a handle or something. I don't know. Just take it off, hold it in my hand, and put it back on.
Jack Hay wants to know, is the ARH exhaust for E92 a must? I would like to do it someday, but it is such a wild install. What other exhaust do you like?
I mean, that's the one. I mean, I think it's an absolute... I would never have an E92 without one ever again. The other option is to get the we were talking about this like I couldn't remember. I think it's MagnaFlow that has it, but you need a quad resonator. You want to delete the cats, and then you do the dining rear section. But the dining rear section is kind of goofy, and then it has the single tip. It has two tips, but only one of them has a hole in it. The other one's just there to look good.
He says he's got the Borla 4Res X pipe and just got some Corsa
Borla.
muffler.
That's what it is. Yeah. So you're not going to see a huge difference versus with that setup versus any other setup. So that's a nice sounding setup that he has. The ARH is just you'll gain probably 20 horsepower from doing that.
Jack wants to know, also, do you have a plan on the next giveaways? Garages, specific products, the next car, other than the toolboxes, that is.
Next giveaway will be garage giveaway, and we have it slated to do in December is the plan. December and then half of January. And then we'll probably wait to do a car later on.
Neil White says, my biggest gripe about the MTM phone cannon is they never produced a wide mouth bottle like Grio's.
Yeah, I don't think that matters as much to me anyway. I didn't really see the big problem there. The thing that's intriguing is the quality of the Grio's and the part. I talked about this I think last week. I talked about this in a video that I shot, or the video that's on the channel, and that I was waiting on MTM to innovate, and I thought that we could make something great, and I probably waited too long. But the Grio's is pretty legit.
86 says, I just got my GR86 back from paint after a small accident. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but how long do I have to wait before washing the car? It's a little dirty and my OCD levels are going off the scale.
Yeah, but washing, I don't think you have to wait at all. By the time you've gotten the thing back, it's good enough to wash. You could wash it right now, I'm sure.
Chris Kringle appreciates your carnivore diet. He said, vegetables are a scam. Preach. I agree.
I think if you take out the processed stuff, right? But if you take that out of the equation, I just believe, and this is just my my gut telling me this, but like if something tastes really bad to you, there's got to be a reason for that. There's a reason why your body's rejecting kale, or broccoli. Now, some people, it tastes great to them. So I would say that there's that kind of selection diet sort of idea that you select things that taste good to you. If you eliminate the, obviously everybody's going to love potato chips and white flour,
Oreos.
Right. So that doesn't count. So if you go with natural food and you eat what you naturally like, I think that you're going to have a much better outcome versus you just choking down asparagus. Like asparagus to me tastes probably what if you picked up like a dog's log laying on the ground, it tastes very similar to that with a side of acid. Like just gag inducing, like the grossest thing ever. But yet other people, they like it. Either they're lying to me, because club soda as a kid tastes terrible, and yet I've kind of acquired a taste for it, so maybe that can happen. But I've been choking that crap down for years, broccoli, and it's just awful. And then idiots start putting cheese and all kinds of weird crap on it. Like, well, what's the point? You must just eat the cheese. Leave the broccoli nonsense. But so I think that I don't know if there's any scientific proof behind this, but this is my philosophy here: is that if you hate it, there's got to be a reason for it. Like it's not just preference; it's like physically makes me gag. Like if I eat a piece of broccoli, especially cooked broccoli, I would rather eat dog crap. Awful. Cauliflower, cooked cauliflower, it's like grossest. Oh, it tastes terrible. Zucchini, squash, like literally gagging. Like even as an adult, like not just as a kid, but like well prepared. It's all about how you prepare it. Well, it would only work if you covered in seasoning and butter and wrapped it in something else.
Bacon.
Even then, now I chew the bacon around and then I gag the rest of it down. There's got to be something to do with that. Maybe someone smarter can tell us why that is.
Let's see. Last question here from Jack. He says, "Can you see yourself being a home developer, or at least involved, if not full time? You seem to have a vision for just about everything in the house."
I think about that pretty often. Actually, I just made a video inside the Hex. It'll be up here today. You know, if you ever care about anything business, I kind of probably shouldn't have shared this with you, but I've shared the whole formulation of what I think I'm headed toward, and what the value prop I think is with various products. And so I've shared that on Inside the Hex. I just shot it before I came in here. You know, I have this vision or this concept of this idea, and I think I'm headed toward this. And I actually just spent some time with my friend Mike Sajecki down in Tampa, talking about Sonance, and I'm starting to catch some clarity around where I'm headed from an end-to-end solution perspective. Obviously, the garage design. I've kind of set up. We've teed up Kyle, and Kyle's running with that. We've kind of set that up, and the I'm going to continue to pursue and shop for products for my own garage. But the major ascent there for me of having to build. Now we just have to continue to chase finding the best products to continue to evolve and improve and manufacture things and stuff like that. But I have this vision for a way to share the learning process, share the shopping process. And so we'll have another video inside the Hex of our visit to the Sonance representatives. I don't know how that fits together. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what I like and don't like to have full clarity to sell it. But I know that there's some things that I want to purchase and try and install and do. And then after you do that, and this is what Obsessed Garage is. So the garage design, the whole end-to-end solution of the garage, when we put that all together, that design or that package or that final product is a culmination of a whole lot of trial and error, a whole lot of hopefully more success than error. And so then we have a really nice looking thing that's put together. Is it the world's best? Is it the best that's ever going to be? Certainly not. But is it really, really well vetted and really nice and great? I think so. And so the concept that I think I'm headed toward is the idea that I would love to buy, let's say, 100 acres. I've told the story on the podcast before, I think. I buy 100 acres, and I choose the worst lot on the 100 acres. Let's hope it's a nice 100 acres and there is no terrible lot. But I subdivide it into 20 5-acre plots, right? And the 5-acre plots, I to pick the worst one, and I build the first house. All right, so I'm living in whatever house I'm living in. I design, I build, and learn about all kinds of products on the first house. I sell whatever house I own. I move into that house. I get to experience. I get to live with. I get to live with all the decisions I made. The second that I finish the first house, I start designing and building the second house. Right. And so now I'm learned a bunch of stuff, learned what to do, what not to do, what to improve upon, how to adjust some things. Maybe this wall needs to go there. Instead of doing that faucet, I think we need to do this faucet. Maybe I really don't like that gray color. We should do this different shade of that. The house would probably be somewhat similar, but not exactly the same. I try some different things on the look of the house and where you enter and exit and those kind of things. And so then when house 2 is done, I move out of house 1, move into house 2. We probably already have a buyer lined up for pre-sold for house 1. So house 1 is then occupied by whoever I choose to come and live there, whoever I choose to sell it to. And then I start house 3, and then the learning process continues. And while I'm doing that, I'm developing products, we're selling products, we're able to demo products, we're able to show people all different types of products, we're making videos, people can come and visit the homes and see the different things, part of the requisite of purchasing the house. the next house would be, hey, you got to be on board with this too. It's kind of like a parade of homes. We have a scheduled, regular parade of homes, and I think anybody buying the house would want to show it off anyway. And we kind of figure out a way to vet and figure out how to make that work, where it becomes almost like a commune, like a cultist community where we love products and we love to show people our products and show people what's good and what's not and what we learned. And then by save the best lot for last, and at the 20th home, that's the home that I'm going to keep, because it'll be the most vetted, the best. And so from homes, when you 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, every single one of them gets a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better. And maybe by the 20th home, I'm basically getting the darn thing for free, because then we have all we have a lot of coverage, we have a lot of marketability, and so we're getting all the products sponsored and getting all the a lot of the labor sponsored and stuff like that. And so maybe by the end of it, we end up with this amazing result of this amazing product. And by the end of the 20th home, you figure we're probably 2-year build. That'd be 40 years, wouldn't it? Oh, shoot, so
you're gonna be old.
Maybe this isn't gonna work. Holy crap! I never even thought of that.
97-year-old.
Maybe let's go to 10 homes then. That'd be 20 years. That's a bit more practical. Yeah. So by the 10th home, we've learned a lot. We built this amazing community, and the first home finances the second home, and vice versa. The third home sale purchase is what pays for the fifth home, kind of thing. So I'd have to get the property, get it developed, and we'd have, figure out things like whole community solar, and just figure things out. Learn all the different types of things, leverage experts to come in, and we end up with this sort of really amazing place. And maybe at the end of it, I said, well, I don't want to live here. Let's go build another one. So then we buy the 100 acres next door and do it again. I don't know. So that's how I would envision it. Kind of like I envision having destination properties all over the place. We buy a nice home and we modify it, and then we put it into the network of destination properties. And so that becomes that's a little different model than I'm going to buy a home and rent it out on Airbnb. Even though it's a similar idea, it's the concept of borrow for money and the concept of creating the audience for it, not just leveraging the world as an audience, but leveraging a specific grouping of people or type of people. So anyway, that's how I would envision something like that working, and I would frickin' love doing that too. That'd be a whole lot of fun.
Patrice Pelletier says, I did my first ever coding on my PPF Model 3 Performance with G-Technic Halo. Mm-hmm. Was really easy to deal with, happy with the performance. Bugs are so much easier to get rid of.
Yeah, it's not hard, man. I mean, especially if you have a nice prepared surface, it's really not hard to coat. It's easier than waxing.
And we got some intel here on the GTD. Jorge says the GTD is going to be like the Ford GT, allocation only.
Yep.
Sophia says they're making 3,000 cars. You have to buy it like the Ford GT and keep it for a year or two before reselling. Joseph wants to know, what do you recommend powering Dynaudio emits with for an entry-level fella? Could a Yamaha or Denon receiver pull it off?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'd be plenty of power. Or, like a power node would be sort of minimum standard for it. I would really want to have like a C388, NAD for it. But, yeah, those receivers have plenty of power for it, especially in 2-channel mode.
Alex wants to know, what kind of STI were you looking at prior to buying your Evo? I found a 2012 STI hatchback local to me with 10K miles that I would have loved to see you get your hands on.
Oh, yeah. That's basically what I was looking for. Yeah.
You're looking for the hatchback?
Send me that.
Oh, don't do it, Alex. Chris at Obsessed Garage. That's her email. Boss wants to know, are you still planning on selling E36?
Yeah.
Okay,
100 grand.
That, yeah.
100 grand. Gets it. Takes it.
Neil White suggests shoving broccoli inside a zebra cake. Problem solved.
How about I just eat the zebra cake?
That'd be nasty.
Forget the broccoli.
That'd be bad.
That's, again, under the guise that broccoli has some sort of benefit. We all go back to the 1970s fiber adage, right? Which is a bunch of frickin' nonsense.
What if that cured all your issues you have driving just by eating like broccoli every day?
Well, then I'd choke it down, but I suspect it's going to make it worse.
All right, let's see. This is from Tom. Have you ever tried Technician's Choice TEC 582 ceramic detail spray?
I would never try anything with the name Technician's Choice. So, look at the label.
Detail spray.
Look at the bottle. Everything about that screams, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm terrible at making a product. So, yeah, that I wouldn't even care if it was any good. That's so bad. Not going to do it.
Let's see. Steve wants to know, are you ever doing labels for the black Press-All bottles? If not, you should remove the copy on the site stating that it may be coming. Would love to have a bunch of your bottles and labels, but just can't do blue.
Yeah, so the black stuff, well, first of all, we're going to have different colors of the trapezoid design, and that we definitely have a label for. The others, problem is you can't put a stick-on label on a bottle with more than a single dimension of curve, right? So you have multiple dimensions, you have curve, sort of left, right, up, down. And so you can't put a label on it; it'll just fall off because it would need relief. And so what we're gonna have to do for that, it'll have to be some sort of interesting like shrink wrap, where they shrink on label type like you have on like an energy drink can. It'll have to be that kind of foil type shrunk on type thing, which will take a lot of development because when you shrink it, you have to get the labels or the letters to match up, so they don't look all weird and oblong and stuff like that. So that's going to be a pretty big undertaking.
Steven wants to know, what's the email for getting info on the used Active 2.0s? It's Chris at Obsessed Garage. Steven, email me. Let's see. Cody wants to know, did you have to call around to get a GT3 allocation?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be calling infinitely, and you're going to be paying 50 to 100 plus K for one. So it's not really a thing. I have my relationship with, and I bought 5 cars now from Wilmington, and they actually were connected. So the GT Smokies group has a lot of pull because we're the guys, right? And so Sean Grower, who runs the group, connected me with with Tom, who was sort of sponsoring and reaching. It was helping with the GT Smokies group, or being a resource for it. And so that's how I got in, and then of course I'm able to go up and shoot videos and promote the dealership and stuff like that. And then I bought an M3 from them, and I bought a GTS from them. So those cars aren't really special cars and they're not super hard to get, but that's how I kind of get on the list. And so I had gotten on the list early for the GT3 Touring, like 2 years in advance, and luckily there was nobody on that list. Everybody was on the list for regular GT3.
Steve LaFera says he had an uncle that did exactly what you're talking about in Indianapolis in terms of building the homes. Took 20 years, but he did 16 homes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you figure if especially if I can eventually get like sponsored products. Let's say the average home in that we're talking about a $2+ million home, right? $2 to $3 million, I think would be what the home would be. And if let's say you had if I GC'd that, I don't think it'd be that hard for me to get a general contractor's license. I'm sure I could pass the test and study the material, pass the test, get a GC license, pay for it. Probably wouldn't be that difficult for me to do. And figure, if I could make like a 30 or 40% margin, 30% margin on a $3 million home, you're going to make, $900,000, and then at the end of it, you make $1 million on each home. Cause I would sell an outfitted home. To make $1 million on each home, that's quite a bit of money.
Let's see. Back to new construction for just a second. Tray ceilings or flat, specifically for the living room, home theater, speakers, and ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, you'd always want a flat ceiling if there's any audio in the room, if you had the choice.
Our buddy Tom says, yes, the TEC 582 branding sucks, but the product is good.
I don't care.
So maybe you just have to get past the branding.
Yeah. No thanks.
This is the funniest thing I've read all day. I don't know why it hit me, but it's kind of with regard to our vegetables and such.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
86 says, my old dog used to eat Big Macs and spit the pickles out. Even the dog didn't want the pickles.
I like pickles. I like
pickles.
Yeah, I like bread and butter's great. Put it on the Chick-fil-A sandwich, gives a little extra something. I don't mind that. And I normally don't like that kind of mixing of things. Like if the chicken's good, why do I need something else on the chicken? Why would you want a piece of lettuce messing up the whole thing? Why would you want a soggy tomato? How about, I like tomatoes. I'll eat the tomato like by itself if it's good. Yeah. But it's never good. It's always like, well, remember, did you read the book Bunnicula back in elementary school? Remember that?
I didn't read it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the bunny. Yeah, the bunny who sucks the juice out of all the. It was one of my favorite book series when I was a kid. Time. Bunnicula, yeah. Look at that. So that's what a Chick-fil-A
look at that. Yeah.
Tomato looks like.
Like Bunnicula.
Like Bunnicula got at it. I don't know why that book really sticks with me. Remember they'd have book fairs? Mm-hmm. I don't read books at all, but yet I'd always want to buy books. It was like so exciting to like try to get a book at a book fair.
I got the posters. I'd hang the posters in my room.
Yeah. You're trying to actually. Then they'd always have some. The companies would always have some nonsense that weren't books. That's what all the kids wanted, right? And of course, my mom being cheap as heck, I'd never get any money for it. I'd have like $10 to spend or something.
They still have them, by the way.
Do they?
Yeah, Harper has them like a couple times a year at school.
That's fun, man. That was a lot. I remember that being a lot of fun. Get me a copy of Bunnicula. Then I want to read all the Bunnicula books. Like, this is great. I wonder what grade. That was probably like 3rd grade or something like that, maybe. Yeah. So why would you want to put that on a sandwich? Take this perfectly magical thing with some delicious bread, some sort of great meat, cold cuts. Maybe you put some sort of, I think avocado can enhance a sandwich at times. But generally speaking, why do you want to put some filler, especially shredded lettuce? Like, you people are so stupid. You've been suckered into filling the sandwich. Let's not put enough meat on there to fill it. So let's fill it with some gross green water stuff that isn't even all that green, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're at like Subway green or something, it's like light green because it's terrible, and half brown, like it's all rotten and stuff. And you're gonna load up the sandwich with that, and then I know what'll top it off. Let's put a Bunnicula tomato on it, or a couple of Bunnicula tomatoes. I feel like people don't feel like they're getting their money's worth. How much do you think that lettuce costs, dum? It costs $0. They give it to them because no one would want to eat that. It's terrible.
Free lettuce.
Or like let's say you're going to Publix. You're going to get a Publix chicken finger sub. And people put lettuce on that? That's like the grossest combination in history. A chicken finger with lettuce. Like, even if there was lettuce touching it, I wouldn't eat it. It's gross. And yet, it's the industry standard. It's the world standard. And you people just live lives of having just living a life of the industry standard. Well, you're supposed to have lettuce, shredded lettuce, and a Bunnicula tomato on my frickin' chicken sandwich, so that's the way to go. That's what it's got to be. That's how I'm going to get healthy. Let's ignore the 2-inch thick white bread you're eating, but it has a tomato on it. It has a lifeless tomato.
Oh man!
It's put on there. All the juice has been squeezed out. It's just kind of laying on the plate.
Dehydrated tomato.
What the frick? It's so stupid. It makes no sense. What would make it better? Let's put some broccoli on it. That'd be great. Let's take all these flavors, all of which are terrible, and then let's put them together and make it even more terrible. How about just give me the freaking slab of ham and I'll eat that instead. Leave all the rest of it out.
Ham slab.
Yeah, just a slab of ham.
All right, Chris Skinner has a product suggestion for you.
Okay.
You may have heard of this.
Does it have to do with shredded lettuce?
No. A Camelback Shoot Mag water bottle. Stainless or plastic, best lid in the game with a magnetic cap holder.
It sounds like a guy who's walking around carrying his water bottle everywhere.
Sounds like a strong, smart human being. Like this.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used one of those before.
I don't know.
Well, thanks, Chris. Another Christopher Dede, is the Solo battery bottle a good use for drying aid?
Oh, yeah. Works great.
Neil White says marinated chicken in pickle juice is great.
Okay, maybe.
That's what the Chick-fil-A strips are marinated in. Matt, cabinets / countertops and pantry like Harbor Hills, or just shelving?
I think you need like closet organization type, unless you have a full like massive like separate kitchen pantry. I wouldn't do that again. It becomes much less functional. Like the Helen House has that. I just think it depends on the size. Like the Helen House or the Harbor Hills house, that was just too small to do that. But so I think the minimum standard size would be roughly the size of the Helen House, which is probably like 10 by 5 by 10 or something like that. Is I think the size of it, and you can do some sort of cabinetry and shelving with a countertop. But generally speaking, I think I'm preferring some sort of like closet organization type stuff.
Neil, I think I agree with Neil here. He says, choose your own adventure books are my favorite
Oh,
books.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Yeah, those were cool.
Yep. Yeah, those are great. And those were at the book fairs. You're like, man, if I could just get like 5 of those, it'd be amazing.
Our buddies at Blendmount are in the chat. Say, hey, OG team. Matt, are you getting a Corvette C8 E-Ray anytime soon?
Who's asking me that?
Blendmount.
Oh, get out of here, Sebastian. No frickin' way. If you gave me that car, I'd light it on fire.
What are your thoughts, Christopher Davis wants to know, on the 911 ST?
What about it? What's my thoughts on it? That's
it.
freaking fantastic, but they're going to make like 10 of them and no one's going to get them. So I try not to get my hopes up on anything like that.
Lots of pickle talk now in the chat here. Suggestions. When is OG, Rogue Papa wants to know, when is OG releasing their brand of ankle socks? Perfect for outdoor washing, then hitting the gym without the funk.
Yeah, I just buy the Under Armour stuff.
Clausen pickles and Woodstock are good for Jared. Make some Katz's New York City deli pickles at home for the discerning enthusiast. For all the pickle enthusiasts. Sebastian's now laughing at you. He appreciates that. Frank Venezia, have you considered picking up an R34 GTR to restore a giveaway when they become a bit easier to import?
That car's terrible. It's a terrible car.
Is that what Adam LZ has, the purple thing?
It's terrible. Why do I get why people like them, but it's a terrible car. I have no interest. And it's like a car that like we couldn't even get, so like I don't understand the appeal. Like we didn't have them here. So like no one knew anything about them. I understand like Adam and TJ's generation because some people brought them here and it's from Fast and the Furious or whatever, but like it wasn't like a thing that we'd aspire to have because it didn't exist. It was only in Japan. But they're terrible. It's like it's the same thing with a Gen 1 Supra. Like it's a terrible car. I have no interest in them.
Super chat here. $20 from our buddy Wags, Corey Wagner. Maybe I missed it, but what's going on with the Wash and Drive series? Any updates?
Well, I can't really drive, so
it's just
I
the
can
wash
do the
series.
wash. So yeah, that green car almost sent me off the deep and set me back big time. Like seriously, like it was too much pressure. And it's a really expensive car. I was stuck in the medium seat. I felt like I was gonna frickin' die. And I told Bob, I said, look, I'm just not, I can't do it. I can't, I need to take the pressure off of me, not put, I did it because I wanted to put pressure on. That made it way worse. So, yeah, it's postponed for maybe ever.
Indefinitely.
Yeah. I love the idea of it, but I'm a deeply troubled individual, so I guess it's not an option. At least I can laugh about it, Oy.
All right, a couple more car suggestions here. Sebastian says, okay, are you getting a Ferrari SF90 Stradale?
If I was going to get a Ferrari, I'd get a 458 Speciale.
How about a Gen 1 NSX, Tom wants to know.
No. I like the Gen 2 NSX, but not the Gen 1. I never really liked the NSX.
Peter says, how about a Subaru STI?
That, maybe.
Obsessed Mobile Detailing, have you seen the new Ego color temperature changing light?
What? No.
Hmm?
I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, I haven't. I'll have to check it out.
Matt, when building a house, is it worth cutting down pantry to have a closet in the office, or skip the closet? Office is around 10 by 10.
Yeah, I don't think you want a closet in the office. What are you going to have in there? It's going to be stuff that you don't want to have. So I wouldn't want to mess up my pantry. I'd want the biggest pantry I can possibly get and no closet in my office if I can help it.
Last one here from 86. How's the NSX hunt going? Are you still on the? Is it still on the list?
Maybe. The Evo's kind of the car right now, and then I'll figure out what I'm gonna do. I really want a GT4 RS.
And then Goosebumps. Did you ever get into Goosebumps series?
No, that was for girls.
So I think that was after my time. Goosebumps.
Yeah, that's for
For
girls.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Choose Your Own Adventure was for boys. Goosebumps was for.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think it's a little after my time too, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for your questions. We appreciate it. We'll be back. I think we'll be back next week, right? You'll be around. It's 2 weeks. You'll be gone.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll be back September 1st.
Yep.
Tommy's birthday. Make sure to wish Tommy happy birthday next Friday. And thank you for all the questions and supporting us here at OG. We appreciate it.
I will not be wishing anybody a happy birthday because we're grown-ups. So thank you guys. I don't even wish myself a happy birthday. We'll
That's
see
true.
you next week.